What you know, alibis. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. It is Wednesday, May 7th, day 11 in the Karen Reed retrial in the books. Let's jump right in. First up on the stand, Connor Keefe with the Massachusetts State Police. He met with Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts to obtain their phones. They did give consent and he did the forensic extraction, but he did not analyze those results. On January 29th, he went to 34 Fairview around 5 p.m. He was asked by Tully to help process the scene. This is the time when the CERT team was there doing their search. He had a limited role. He was just processing the evidence they recovered. He would bag it up and take it to the evidence room. The Commonwealth shows some photos of John's black Nike shoe. They also bring in the evidence bag with the shoe to show the jury. There's writing on the outside of that evidence bag telling the date, time, the location, and who collected it. The time could be different than when it was found if he's bagging multiple items at a time. The Commonwealth shows some photos of the red piece of taillight that was found in the snow, as well as a white piece. Both of those are brought in and shown to the jurors. On cross, they ask about the consent form for Jen McCabe's iPhone 11. She gave her passcode and the form was signed. The defense says, you and Jen dated that February 2nd, 2022. Did you list a time? And it was 12:08 p.m. He was colleagues with Michael Proctor at the Massachusetts State Police. And on January 29th, there were 10 people in that unit, and the witness said it was a very small unit. The witness has never been assigned as a lead investigator in a homicide case. Proctor, as we know, was originally the lead in this case, and the defense says you partnered with him for certain aspects of this case. October 21st, 2022, you and Trooper Proctor interviewed Sarah Levinson at the Norfolk DA's office. The witness does not recall. Just a reminder, Sarah was the friend of Brian's who testified earlier about being at the house that night, and she was one of the two that took that ride home with Jen and Matt McCabe. The defense gives the witness a document. The witness remembers being there at that interview, but doesn't recall the specifics. The witness got surveillance from the Waterfall Bar and Grill as well as CF McCarthy's. Lead investigator Proctor analyzed those videos and wrote the report. He looks over the report, and the witness said he didn't do anything other than obtain that video for Trooper Proctor. The defense asked if Trooper DeChico was in his unit and did he have a nickname. There was a sidebar, and when they came back, that was not revisited. The witness was newer to the job at the time of this investigation. He was the only one from that unit who attended John's autopsy. Did you know Proctor discussed the case with the medical examiner before the autopsy? He said he did not, and he himself did not provide a theory to the medical examiner when he attended the autopsy about what could have happened. The defense points out that John had two black eyes and a swollen right eye, a small cut above the right eye, and a small abrasion on the left side of his nose. He's asked if he remembers that, and the witness said he would need to reference the report. When you left the autopsy, the cause and manner of death was still undetermined. You knew the doctor saw the scratches, the bites on John's arms, and had seen the injuries to his arm. There were lots of objections flying around during this. The defense asked the witness, what direction was the medical examiner's eyes facing when examining John's body? The witness doesn't know. But you saw the injuries on his arm? Yes. Was there any bruising? The witness doesn't recall. No obvious broken bones? And the witness said, I'm not a medical expert. Defense, there was nothing preventing you from giving input to the medical examiner? The witness said, we give facts. That's not input. He talked to the medical examiner during the autopsy, and the defense asks at the end, when you left, it was not ruled a homicide? Objection sustained. That was pretty much it for his testimony. And a fair warning, this next witness, Jessica Hyde, she does digital forensics. This was the hardest testimony to follow. No slight to her. My brain could not figure out really what the heck they were talking about. So we're just going to hit some of the more important parts of her testimony. Her name is Jessica Hyde. She was asked to analyze Jen McCabe's phone for a specific time range of deletions on a Safari search. She looked at possible deletions from 2:27 a.m. on the morning of January 29th, and she did something called a hash to look for that. She found the searches for those sports pages and also that search for It's Raining Men at 2:29. There were multiple traces for the Haas Long to Dying Cold, and one was associated with that 2:27 a.m. time frame. And she essentially says that untrained examiners who don't know what they're doing would assume the search was done at that time. Her opinion is that search was not done until later in the morning and not at 2:27. Also, her opinion is there was no deletion by the user because it's not something the user can delete. On cross, they point out she was hired by the Commonwealth in this case and has been paid since May of 2023. Later on, she said she was rehired at a certain point. To me, it really seemed like she was brought on to confirm Ian Whiffin's testimony that the search was done much later. It got a lot more technical with her. They pull up a slide from Ian Whitten, and the defense says at 12:32 and 9 seconds, the device locked with the lock button for the last time, meaning you have to physically press that button, and that is an interaction with the phone. The witness did not review that artifact, and she cannot attest to Mr. Whiffin's exam, only to her own. She won't say that button was pushed because it's not her work. Defense, you have no basis to contest what Mr. Whiffin said, which is there was a lock 12 minutes after you say there was no interaction with the device. The witness would need to review that. And the defense says, did anything prevent you from reviewing that before you wrote your report? The witness just says, I can't speak to an artifact I didn't review. That's Mr. Whiffin's report. And the defense asked, wouldn't a device lock be readily available to you when you wrote your report? And she says yes. He asked her to go to her conclusion in the report. And it says at 12:01, John's phone was in use with Waze navigating to 34 Fairview. There were steps taken, audio playing, and there were text messages until 12:31. And the defense says that statement is also incorrect, isn't it? The witness said, I believe the statement is correct regarding those artifacts. He has her turn to another page in the report, 12:31 and 56 seconds. The same time in the conclusion, which is on John O'Keefe's phone, there are 36 steps. The duration of those steps were 20.398 seconds. So if you look at this data point in your report, the steps began at 12:31 and 56 seconds and end 20.398 seconds later. That would put it at 12:32 and 16 seconds. So your statement in your conclusion says activity until 12:31, and that should read 12:32. The witness said it depends on your interpretation of if they are actively using their device. If a user is walking, they are not actively interacting with the device. It's the movement that is, but she agrees this could be interpreted as an additional 20 seconds of phone use. She said the defense's interpretation would be acceptable as well as her own. Another page in her report regarding Apple Health data steps. It says at 12:21 and 10 seconds, those 80 steps constituted 191 seconds, which equals 3.2 minutes. And the witness says approximately. But you're stating the data shows 80 steps were taken by whomever had the phone at 12:21 for 3.2 minutes. The witness said that's what the phone registered. They move on to talk about Jen McCabe's phone. At 5:07 a.m., are you aware of a communication to a person named Coco, which is Jen's sister? And the witness says yes. In your report, you list that call. Have you discussed that call with the Commonwealth? No. The defense points out there is no duration listed for that call. And the defense wants to note that omission isn't the only omission. From 12:14 a.m. on January 29th through 5:07 a.m. You don't list durations actually until 8:59 a.m. The witness says that's correct and explainable, but the defense says the Commonwealth can handle that one on redirect. Since she joined the case in May of 2023, she has issued several reports. The defense says your opinions on the meaning of the 2:27 a.m. timestamp have varied from May 2023 to today. The witness says, no, that's incorrect. The defense says in your report, it says that Celebrite determined the Google search with the 2:27 timestamp was deleted. And she says that's fair. The defense points out in her report, she put 11:23 and 11:24 a.m. as the time of searches on Jen McCabe's phone. She acknowledges that is in UTC time, and she did not convert that. The defense points out in her May 2023 report, she wrote a definitive reason for the 2:27 a.m. timestamp of that search is unknown. She says yes. The defense asked if there were auto deletions on Jen McCabe's phone. The witness said she's uncomfortable with the term auto deletions, but the system did remove some records, but she was still able to find them. The defense asked her if she was requested by anyone to reach a certain conclusion, and she said her analysis was independent of the DA's office. On a redirect, the Commonwealth says that Celebrite updated its software tool to avoid confusion regarding the timestamp. The witness said, my understanding is that it's not a reliable timestamp, and that's why they removed it. Regarding the 80 steps, the Commonwealth reiterates that doesn't mean John was actually walking. Previously, we've heard the Commonwealth say it could be from being in the car and moving. The Commonwealth ends the day with a short clip of Karen Reed during an interview where she says, it's Jen McCabe or me. Jen, either I'm going down or you are. So I apologize for a very choppy recap of that last witness, but y'all, I rewound this stuff 50 times and I still just couldn't get to the meat of that testimony. It was just so confusing and technical. I plan to try to rewatch some of it tonight. If I pick up on anything else, I'll add it tomorrow, but that is it for today. Hope you guys have a good rest of your evening, and we will see you soon.